Cincinnati Bengals quarterback, Joe Burrow, says he believes he can be the best quarterback in the NFL. I won't lie to you. If you catch me and Big Don, who's my dad, on the phone at the right time, chances are the words come out of our mouth. Yeah, Joe Burrow could be the best quarterback in the NFL. I firmly believe he's got everything in there to be the best quarterback in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes is tough to overcome, so that's the one thing weighing him back. The bigger question is this. Doesn't matter if Joe Burrow is the best quarterback or not the best quarterback. You have to plan for him to be. If he is, what happens to the Pittsburgh Steelers? How much more challenging does that road become for them? And where do they look in the AFC North? What does the AFC North stack up like if Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the NFL, or maybe the second best quarterback in the NFL? We'll start with, are they a bigger challenge? Because, yeah, you got Joe Burrow and you got Jamar Chase, but you don't have a running game. Your offensive line's pretty bad and your defense is hit or miss. Does it make the Bengals more challenging, a scarier opponent for the Steelers in the AFC North race, not one-on-one, because Baltimore Ravens and the Steelers, the Bengals will always be a scarier matchup, at least until Joe Burrow leaves. In the AFC North standings, do they become more of a threat to the Steelers than the Ravens?
I would say so, yes, because, I mean, it's the same thing with Lamar Jackson. If he's on, he's an MVP. If he's off, well, he's probably off the field, but, he's beatable. And I think the same goes for Joe Burrow. If he is on his game, I would put him up there as the second best quarterback in the National Football League. And I know a lot of people slide in maybe a Josh Allen, slide in Lamar Jackson in there, but I think if he's on his game, it is Patrick Mahomes, one, undoubtedly, and then it's Joe Burrow. So I think if he is on his game, if he's at that MVP caliber, then I think it's going to be hard for the Steelers to overcome the Bengals in the standings.
Yeah, I think I agree with that one. I think Joe Burrow hitting on all cylinders makes the Bengals a more dangerous than the Bills, more dangerous than the Ravens. Oh, yeah. I think the Ravens are a collective effort. You could talk about, Lamar Jackson. I get it. I think the Ravens are a collective effort, and I think that they took a step backwards. Derrick Henry's Derrick Henry, man, and that's terrifying. But that defense is not what it was a year ago, and you're looking for some pieces to fill in that I don't think are going to fill in the right way. I don't think Marlon Humphrey's as good as he once was. That being said, the Cincinnati Bengals become a serious threat for the Steelers. Are you more worried about a dominant Cincinnati Bengals team than a dominant Baltimore Ravens team? Because yeah, the Bengals, they make things happen, but also, the Bengals are one guy away, and that guy is Joey Burrow, from shutting them down to that team's not really that scary anymore. The Ravens, I mean, you shut Lamar down, yeah, nice, but also Tyler Huntley has brought this team very close and has beaten them once or twice.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, we've seen this before. It's not like we have to imagine what these teams look like without their star quarterbacks. Last year, we got it in Jake Browning for the Bengals. And was it 2 seasons ago? We got it in Snoop Huntley for the Ravens. The Ravens still made the playoffs and still were close to beating the Bengals in a playoff game on the road. And the Bengals were, albeit, a dangerous team for a couple weeks, they were not a playoff team last year. So I think that tells you that the Ravens are, as a team, better suited to lose a quarterback, but I still think the level is a little bit higher when they do have their quarterback, the Cincinnati Bengals, I should say, over Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. It's hard. It's, splitting atoms, because one is a 2-time MVP and one is a, Super Bowl runner-up that has proven to be one of the few guys that can go shot for shot with Mahomes. But I do think that Burrow at his best elevates the Bengals more than Lamar at his best does for the Ravens. And again, it's not taking anything away from Lamar, but I just think Burrow is that good when he's healthy.
No, I agree. It's crazy that we don't even include the Cleveland Browns in this conversation, because the Cleveland Browns could be great. Yeah, that's the thing, is the Cleveland Browns could be great. They have terrible quarterback play, and I have no faith in Deshaun Watson. And to be quite frank, I don't see the Cleveland Browns ever being, or at least right now, being an AFC North contender. They're an AFC North number 2, pushing for a number 2. Like, they could be the guy that knocks the Steelers out of the playoffs. They could be the team that knocks the Bengals or the Ravens out of the playoffs. I could see that one, but I don't see them as a serious contender. I see the Steelers as a team that has to overcome the Bengals or the Ravens more than the Cleveland Browns. And Browns fans are going to hate that, but quite frankly, it's kind of true. It's always just a little. You look at the rankings, John Harbaugh, Zach Taylor, Mike Tomlin, they're in the rankings. Kevin Stefanski's on this long list that says has not done it yet. So you look at the quarterback or the head coaching rankings, it's just clear as day. So this is my final question in this conversation here. Joe Burrow's hitting on all cylinders this season. Lamar Jackson is the reigning MVP, and you have to guess that he's going to continue to play like the reigning MVP. You got Russell Wilson as your starting quarterback if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. Where do you put him? Do you think that they're still contenders to the AFC North if both sides are clicking? And how close are they to those two teams?
I think it's certainly not the likely scenario, but I wouldn't close the door on the Steelers in that situation. I understand that both of those quarterbacks, and we've talked about it for the past 10 minutes, both of those quarterbacks, when they're at their best, elevate their teams to be some very, very tough to beat teams. But I do think that the Steelers have the defense that is good enough. And also in AFC North football, they have proven that even when those players are at their best, they're going to contend, they're going to compete, they're going to make it close. I think if their defense can stay healthy and remain clicking on all cylinders, it keeps the Steelers in it. And I think Russell Wilson is going to be enough of an improvement over what the Steelers have had the last 2 years that they're going to be in and around that conversation come December, whenever these games really start to heat up.
Yeah. So in the AFC North, until the day I die, defense will win championships, and that is not going to change because that's just what AFC North football is. You could have a Joe Burrow, you could have a Lamar Jackson, you could have a Deshaun Watson or a Russell Wilson, but at the end of the day, defense wins championships, and the entire AFC North is built that way. And they will continue to be built that way. They will continue to be built with our defense is going to be the reason that we are the best in this division, which is exactly how football should be played. The Steelers defense is in a place where I think they could stop Lamar Jackson. I think they could stop Joe Burrow. I think they could stop the Cleveland Browns. I'm not going to say Deshaun Watson, but the Cleveland Browns. I think it could happen. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I agree with you. I think they'd be on their doorstep, but I'm not ruling the Steelers out of the AFC North contention and saying they can't walk away winners here. In fact, I feel pretty good about them being winners depending on their schedule when this is all said and done, just because they built a team that's ready to play in the AFC North, and that's huge. So I don't know. I look at it. Let's give an early prediction before we jump into everybody's questions here. Your AFC North standings as we sit here on July 12th.
Bengals at number 1.
Yeah, everybody already hates you.
I know, but if we're sitting here right now and Joe Burrow is healthy, which as of right now he's tracking to be that, I say Bengals at number 1. The last time he came off of a season where he was injured and he remained healthy, they went to the Super Bowl. So
let me before you go number 2 here.
Okay.
Let me just remind you that Steven had to overcome a lot on this show by being a Patriots fan. Okay. You were in very high standings with these people the second you came here. You have an opportunity now to ruin that. So number 2.
Number 2, I'd say the Steelers. Okay. Is that okay?
Right. That's good. I was nervous. I was very nervous.
I think that there is a come down for the Baltimore Ravens after being the number 1 seed in the AFC. And also I get that Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry, and him going to that offense should lead to success, but that offense was already one of the best rushing offenses in the league anyway. And the Steelers always found a way to at least mitigate that to some extent. So I think that the Baltimore Ravens, while I don't see them being bad, I see them taking a step back, and I think the Steelers took enough of a step forward that they'll be able to catch them. So I'll put Bengals, Steelers, Ravens, and then the Cleveland Browns.
Okay, I like that. I'm gonna go Pittsburgh Steelers, number 1, simply because there are no trap games. This is not a schedule in which the Pittsburgh Steelers can lose games. They will win the games because they are all hard, and that's when the Pittsburgh Steelers win games. So I'm going Pittsburgh Steelers. I want to go Bengals, but I'm going to go Ravens just because I don't trust that Joe Burrow is going to remain healthy, and that's my biggest question mark here is until proven otherwise, I'm not going to bank on that happening. The Ravens can still win games without Lamar Jackson. So I'll go Baltimore, I'll go Cincinnati, and then Cleveland at the 4 spot. At some point, Deshaun Watson trade is just going to explode in their face, and I think this is the season that it happens. So that's our rankings. I'm glad that I was nervous there. I was very nervous for a second. If I
would have put him at 30, you probably would have just dumped me already.
It wouldn't have been me. It wouldn't have been me. I'm full support here. The comments would have been rough, and they were rightfully so. Would have been rough.